What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley's route running. So we're going to be kind of comparing these two very, very similar routes. They're actually the exact same route, and we're going to be talking about what makes them efficient with these routes and what makes them an efficient route runner and how this can help your guys' game improve, okay? So I hope this gives you guys some value, but first things first, fellas, I want to talk to you about how you can improve your route running in 10 days. If you check out that very first link in the description, you will gain info on how to access our 45-minute long video on how to improve your route running with specific drills and a 10-day step-by-step process. We walk you through exactly what we teach and how you guys can improve your route running specifically when it comes to your breaks, releases, stem, everything, all the above. Again, check out that very first link in the description to see the info on that. Hope to get you guys on that soon. Let's get started. So first route we're going to be looking at here is this post-out route, okay? So we're going to be looking at a post-out from Julio and then a post-out from Calvin Ridley. So you see how when he breaks up here, he breaks to this post, snaps it off, 3 steps, makes that DB fall, he's out of there, and then he's able to make this play right on the pylon. So first things first here, when you guys run any kind of double move, right? What's the first part of it? A, you got to sell vertical, but B, when you go into the post break or you go into the out break, whatever kind of route it is, whether it's out and up, post out, post corner, corner post, you got to keep the same speed and you got to burst to that post portion of it, right? So you see how he's bursting up here and he just makes a sudden break, right? Now, what should snap around, right? Everybody loves to say that the eyes are the most important thing. I really don't believe so. I think that the eyes are kind of secondary. You have to give the eyes. You can't be looking like drifting upfield or looking back to where you're going to run because it's a dead giveaway. But I think what's more important is having speed into the break and committing your hips and committing your shoulders into the break along with your eyes. It's like a 3-step process. You got to have all three. You got to have eyes, shoulders, and hips and have speed, because what a DB is taught to do is he's not going to jump on this route if he feels you start to slow down, if he feels you raise your pad level up and lean back and then make this slow break. You got to come off of this, cut, and explode for 3 steps, right? And you see what's the first thing that Julio snaps? Eyes, shoulders, hips, and he's got his speed going into the break, right? That draws the DB down. That makes the DB believe post. That's what we want to do. Now, on a post out or a blaze out, that's what a lot of people call this. You blaze it, which means that it's 3 steps. So 1, 2, my bad. So it's 1, 2, 3. It's a 3-step break. So you're here 1, 2, 3, and you're out of this thing, right? So that's what they mean by blaze out. So it's kind of like snapping down, like on a 45 or like a 90-degree cut where you snap down, right? So when he's coming here, again, the only way I'm able to change direction while running full speed is by using my hips, right? Some people call this like a martini route. That's a common name for this, like in like high school lower level ball, where you're snapping your hips, you're being violent into this break, and you see how he gets in this explosive position. That hip drop right there, that almost like dead leg where his weight goes forward, his chin goes to his knee, his chest goes to his knee. That's what's going to put you in this position and where you can create explosion and drive out. Because at the end of the day, it's about selling, creating energy, and then getting out of the break, right? So now what gets his hips out of this thing fast, what prevents him from taking all these freaking 10 steps right here and wasting time. It's not necessarily about steps, it's more so about time. But if you can eliminate steps and you could still sell vertical and still drop your hips, then it's a win-win, right? So we snap. That second step, you see how it almost pivots him, because that's pivoting his hips towards the sideline. So you want to drop your hips, you pivot that second step down, and that third step right here is like your drive leg. So it's snap, pivot, hook. That third step pushes you out so you create some explosion, and then you could just drive those arms. Again, we sell this thing so well, make this DB really overcommit. I drive those arms and accelerate off this break. That's a great job by Julio. Let's watch the thing again, full speed. So he's coming out here, breaks to this post, same speed, same eyes, snap this thing off, 3 steps, and then get out of this break. So now we're going to be looking at the exact same route here from Ridley. Breaks to the post, snaps this thing off, but now he takes it a little bit deeper. He takes it about 5 steps on this post rather than 3 steps like what Julio took it on, right? And it's a little bit quicker. This would be more like considered like a slant out almost, right? So he only breaks, it's like a 3-step slant. Julio's was more of like a bang 8 post where he broke this thing off and only took 3 steps. So this one's a little bit deeper, but the change of direction is still the exact same, right? So he comes off here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he snaps this thing off on the 5th step. He's working that explosive snap like we were just talking about. But let's talk about how he sells the route. Again, all these great route runners, the reason why we talk about this stuff, it's not necessarily like, oh, you have to do everybody does this the same way, but you want to take away what the great route runners do, what they all have in common, and that's what you want to apply to your game. It's a lot like quarterback, right? Like everybody throws the ball differently. Everybody has a different motion. Everybody does different things, but there are a lot of key indicators that all these great quarterbacks have. Same with route running. All these great route runners have these key indicators that they all do, and that's what you need to be able to apply to your game. You got to be your own receiver, but you can't There are things that the greats do that if you think you could just, my way's better, then you're not going to, it's not going to work out that way, right? If all these great receivers have certain things in common, that's what you should probably be trying to apply to your game, right? So when he breaks off of the slant, what does he do? Snaps the eyes, commits the shoulders, commits the hips. Now he's staying in stride, right? So now it's got all about speed, especially when it's only like a 3-step cut to this slant. We really got to work to drive this DB down. We really got to work him to overcommit on this. So I got to have a lot of speed in his break. So he breaks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he snaps this thing off. Now he kind of pulls his eyes out of there a little bit early. If I was a DB, I'd probably sit. That's an indicator to where you could sit on this thing, right? But that goes to show you that it's not necessarily all about your eyes. It's about your hips, shoulders, and speed because he took his eyes off of there fast, right? So make sure that we keep our eyes there until we drop, right? So now when he snaps it in his break, you see what does he do? He gets in that explosive position that we were talking about. Low man's going to win, right? So you want to drop your hips. You don't want to just bend at your waist. You want to drop your hips, not like a little bit higher than a lunge, obviously, but you want to get your chest down and you want to bring your chin to your knee because when you could get to here, that halts you. It's like dropping an anchor, dropping a guillotine on a dude. It just halts you. It's sudden, right? And then we want that sudden drop because that could create explosion. So now let's take a look at the steps of the break. So he snaps. Then he pivots just like Julio, drives off the third, and then you see he's out, right? He creates that energy, this DB's speed turning out of there. Now it's a race to the ball. But here's the thing. Watch how the DB makes his break. He goes chop, 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 and he takes those extra steps while we're taking 3 powerful steps, and we got low to create energy, right? Because it's all about explosion. Because at this point right here, it's a race back to that sideline. Now, if you're running a 40-yard dash, and let's say I'm going up against a guy, right? And we got to go 40 yards race as fast as we can, see who's going to win. And he's standing straight up tall in like a receiver stance, and I'm down in a 40 stance. I'm going to win the race because I have more explosion because I'm lower, right? The low man's going to win. You're going to create more explosion that way. So in this scenario, we're creating more explosion than this DB because he's up nice and tall. And you see what being tall does. It creates that extra drift right there, right? That extra drift because he doesn't know when we're making this break, but we know. So that's why it's important to eliminate time at the top of the break. If I snap into this thing and I'm nice and tall, like let's say he goes here, but he doesn't really drop his weight and he takes all these choppy steps, this DB's all over this thing, right? So, but it's about being 1, 2, 3, driving off of that leg and using that energy because you see how great of a pad level he is in here. Driving those arms, pumping those arms so you can win that race back to the ball. That's textbook right there, top of the route, break point and acceleration by Calvin Ridley. That's a great route there. Great job making that play. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. Selling this slant out route, right? Coming off here, 5 steps to it, snap this thing off, make sure we're out in 3, driving off that 3rd step so you can win the race back to that ball. It's a great route, great finish right there by Calvin Ridley, okay? So now we're going to be talking about this like deep, almost 20-yard out route by Julio Jones, and then Calvin Ridley's going to be doing the exact same thing, right? So when we come off here again, against zone coverage, he's bailing out here. So where's an area in zone coverage? This is how you guys got to always think that you want to attack. You always want to attack this blind spot, right, to where he cannot see you. So if I'm coming off the line of scrimmage here and I'm pumping those arms and I'm driving, you see what Julio's doing here. This is like the most possible you could self-fade. No indicators, no nothing. And that's something that both of these guys do well. They're really good at dropping their hips into breaks. They're really good at creating explosion at the top of the route and getting out of the route, right? But now you see how he's just able to run. He's running full speed, pumping those arms. He's nice in stride. You see how he doesn't chop his feet, and he's closing the distance with this DB. He's trying to move this DB off his platform and think, oh shit, I don't want to get beat over the top, right? And now when we close the distance with this DB and step on his toes metaphorically, and I snap this thing off in stride, you see how Julio just goes 1, 2, and he's out of this thing, right? How do you change direction going full speed? You got to be violent with your hips. You got to get low, and it's impressive for Julio Jones at his size that he's able to even move like this, right? He's 6'4", 6'5", moving like a slot receiver, right? That's obviously the goal if you're a bigger guy. But you see how, again, violent. That's what stops you. That's what slows you down. You see how his chest is going forward. So many guys will get into a break and their chest is straight up in the air, and then they turn out of it, and then you give this DB all the time in the world to react. When you go forward, fellas, and you get your chest forward and you're in explosive position and you drop your hips, that creates so much energy to where you could just explode out and drive off of this break and run back to that ball. It's a great job by Julio selling vertical, dropping those hips, and getting out of the break right now. Let's watch the thing again, full speed one more time. So again, in stride, snap it off. Let's pump those arms and let's get out of this break. Great route. So now we're going to be looking at the same route here from Ridley. snaps this thing off, and he's out of there. Now, this one was a little bit different. That was more like 4 steps on the break than Julio's, but at the end of the day, right, accomplishes the same thing. Now, you see, again, zone coverage DB, facing the quarterback. So what does Ridley do? He gives this little tempo change to really sell fade. So this is another difference, right? This is a difference in what they do. So you see how he gives this little stutter, right? Because that makes that DB think, oh, crap, stutter fade, like a little hesitation, he's going fade. Maybe we've done this before, right? Maybe Julio's just ran past that DB in the last clip. Now, maybe Ridley's hit him with a little stutter go and just completely beat this guy to the outside or to the inside. So you see how he gives a little hesitation and then he goes, right? And again, you look how well he is selling vertical here, fellas. There's no indicator. A DB's looking for indicators. He's trying to feel your speed to change. He's trying to feel you start chopping your feet. He's trying to feel all those different things you raise in your pad level. But when you stay in stride and you keep your chin tucked and you're here, you're in a great pad level to where you're just running. You're trying to run past him and you're able to just snap it off right now. And you see again, chin to his knee, chest is going forward. That's that explosive drop position that we need to get into, right? Right in stride, 2, 3, 4. He's out in 4 steps, but again, it's about cutting out time, fellas. It's about cutting out time at the top of the break, not necessarily cutting out steps. Cutting out steps will help with time if you sell vertical and if you have a sudden drop. But so many people are just like, oh, I can get out of the break in 1 step, but you slow down fucking 10 yards before this thing. So make sure that you're snapping your hips into it right at the break point, right when you're hitting whichever inside or outside step, and then we're accelerating, right? Because it's about creating energy right here, using that energy to shoot you out towards the sideline. Great job working that hand technique and winning the race to the ball. This was a catch. I know I cut the clip a little bit soon, but great ball also by Ryan, right? And those are the little details, because if he doesn't do one of those things incorrect, DB was in a hell of a position to make a play on this ball. If he does any of those things incorrect, it's a pass breakup or it's picked off. Okay, so quarterback's got to be on the same page, obviously, but we got to do all the details right. If we do everything right, we should not lose. That's just the fact of the matter. DB is very hard. They're guessing 24/7, so we got to make sure we do everything right. I sell vertical, I snap it off, and I get out of this break and create some energy to get to the sideline. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, leave those in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And also, guys, if you want to improve your route running in 10 days, fellas, specific 10-day step-by-step process with specific drills, the technique that we imply with our receivers, check out that very first link in the description. I'll see you guys next time.